Hello, welcome friends and welcome family. Welcome to my sacred space that I prepared for us here today. If you're watching this video, you are a friend. Thank you for being here. In fact, I want all of you to know whether you are here for the first time or whether you have come back several times or however you do this, I appreciate that you're here. I know it's a virtual connection, but it's also a very real connection. I really do feel this connection, and I hope that you do too. I'm Olivia, and this is Tarot and Coffee with Olivia, here to do this Pick a Card daily read. I'm going to start shuffling the card of the day, and while I'm shuffling, I'm going to tell you a story of something sweet that my mom used to do for me. When I was younger and had young kids, my mom lived out in the country, and I lived in the suburbs of a city. And it took me a little while to get out there, so I didn't visit every day, but I visited here and there with the kids. And every time I would come, my mom would have a magnolia for me from the magnolia tree in her front yard. And she would tell me, it's amazing. That tree doesn't always bloom, but whenever you're on your way, whenever you call and say you're coming, it starts blooming. And so that's magic. That's magical and magic. That is a miracle in and of itself. And it doesn't even matter if that tree bloomed when I wasn't coming. It's still magical. My mother made that magical. And yesterday I was trying to film this video, and I couldn't do it for technical reasons. But when I told that story, I cried. So I'm glad I had technical problems and I could tell it today without so much trouble. I release negative thoughts and emotions from my life. On the back, we read, when you let go of negative thoughts and emotions, you'll discover inner peace, joy, and happiness. And I can tell you that that is definitely something that has worked for me recently. It's not something that I always believed in. I mean, I always believe in being positive. However, I can tell you that really working on it is what brought me to this. Being positive is what brought me to reading cards like this for you guys. And I consider it just something that has not only changed my life but saved my life. So to me, being positive is actually the reason I'm alive today. So anyway, let me introduce you to the card toppers. We have the calla lilies. These are made out of polymer clay, and I did craft them. This is I call it my tentacled sunflower. And then we have, I'm only going to pick up one of the roses here. We have roses here. These roses I made longer ago than the rest of the flowers. And then I think I already showed you the magnolia flower on a branch. And if you've never been under the shade of a magnolia tree or you don't know what that is, let me tell you, magnolia trees are magical in and of themselves. But let's go ahead and see what's under the calla lilies, and I will tell you more about the magnolia tree. So we have this card that looks pretty sad. It's the Ten of Swords. It looks pretty awful, but here's the good news. It was upside down, so it's not as awful as you think. It's actually saying all this pain, all this misfortune, and these swords, that's already happened, and you're on the way up now. You're in recovery. Not only that, it's not going to be long before you're feeling much better. So one of the things that this card says is look to your higher power for help in recovery. It also speaks of, especially when it's in the upside down position, being at an advantage when you weren't before. Again, this isn't permanent. This also has to do with you resisting something that had to end anyway. And now it's ended, but you're on your way up. So with the calla lilies, It looks like a not so great card, but it actually is you're on your way up, so keep hope. So if you live in a dry climate, when you go and you walk under the shade of a tree on a hot day, it's nice and cool under the tree. But if you live in a wet area, a humid area like Houston or Galveston, there's water in the air, and when you walk under a tree, it's just as hot in the shade as it is in the direct sunlight because of the water heating up the air. Except when you're under a magnolia tree. A magnolia tree is always nice and cool no matter how hot the day is. And that's another thing that's just really magical about a magnolia tree. So let's look and see what's under our sunflower. And you have the Three of Cups. Now, the thing I really love about this card, well, a lot of things. You can see everybody's eating and drinking and being merry. It's actually talking about healing, for one thing. It's also talking about like a problem that you might have had that's healed, like making friends again or making amends. I also, whenever I see this card, I think of the three graces: faith, hope, and charity. Charity not being what a lot of people kind of define it as is giving, I guess, to someone in need. That's not what I mean by that. What I mean by charity is the true love of Christ, or true love in general. And by true love, I mean that you give because you have a need to give, because you care so much, not because you want to help somebody out of a pit, not because you want to feel good about yourself because you've done something good for somebody else, not because you're just spreading kindness, but because you have to give, because you love that person. They may be a stranger, but when you give charity, it's because you care. So this card is a very exciting card for me because it has to do with faith, hope, and charity. So let's pull over the card that's under. Oh, you have the Magician. Okay, so if I remember correctly, the Magician was upside down when I pulled it. In fact, yes, it was. I just looked at my notes. Now, obviously, the Magician is a magical being, creating things, knowing things. We have the moon in the background, and that is a unicorn. Only to me, unicorns aren't horses, they're goats. Goat-like. They're unicorns, but I kind of see them as the old-fashioned way we used to see them. So this card warns about being a slave to your circumstances. You're not. When it's upside down, what it's saying is, you feel trapped, you think you're trapped, but you're not. And you know why you're not trapped? Because you're resourceful, because you're magical, because even though you see the bars in front of you, there are other ways to get out of this situation. So tap into your psychic self. Tap into seeing things as you don't normally see them. See them a different way, and you will be able to find your way out easily. And last but not least, let's see what we have under the Magnolia. And I got to be really careful because these guys, I don't think I baked them enough. So they're kind of fragile. I'm going to need to rebake them. The Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles. So this is a beautiful card, as you can see. That's a couple. Now, it's not a couple like the Lovers are a couple. It's it can represent friendship. And also, as you can see with all the coins, it can represent money. Now, here's the thing. This was, again, like I said about the other card, this was, when I drew it out, it was upside down. So what it looks like is that you might be arguing with someone about money. Maybe y'all have a disagreement about how money should be sent or spent or saved. It's possible that someone was being risky with money within a relationship. It's possible there was some money lost or even a theft happened. But here's the thing. Excuse me. As long as you both get on the same page together, it's going to be fine. That's what this card says, is that you can work that stuff out. Money is one of the most common things that couples argue about. It's one of the most common hardships in a relationship. So if you can get through these money problems, then you can pretty much get through just about anything. At least that is the message from this card. And here we are at the end, which is, of course, it's bittersweet for me, because now I get to go post this video, but I also have to say goodbye to my friends, you guys, my family. So let's see, what do I have to tell you here? Go ahead and like and subscribe to my video. That way you can, it helps me out. It helps me out, and it's no bigs. It just takes a second. In fact, in the time that I've been talking about it, you could have done both of those things. So go do it now. I'll give you a second. That was a second. Okay. I hope you found this moment to be just what you needed. Do take what resonates with you and leave the rest. But please don't make life-altering decisions or changes based on this video pick a card reading. You can definitely book a private reading with me, and we can talk about the big and the hard stuff during a private reading. And you can be on your way to making your own decisions, because that's what's the most important thing. Thank you for being here. You guys, take care.